Well, the candidate of the other main opposition, the Labour Party, has also alleged vote buying and manipulation of results in the Edo polls. On a rise at prime time, Olumide Akpata claimed the election was a transaction. Take a look.
As has been pointed out by many others, that election was fraught with irregularities. There are so many questions that remain unanswered regarding the kind of numbers that have come out of that election. Voter intimidation, vote manipulation, all sorts of things, the kind of numbers that have come out of Oredo local government area, kind of numbers that have come out of Ikokwu local government area. Many questions that we would continue to seek for answers. However, one was also taken aback by the level of vote buying that took place on Saturday, openly, in such a brazen manner, all across the state. And so that is why I say it wasn't an election, it was a transaction. And it's quite unfortunate because it was a willing seller and willing buyer situation. So I am not going to just apportion blame only to those who were buying. The people seemed very ready to sell their votes. The people seemed very ready or wanted to be compensated for voting. It was quite tragic. There was a particular polling unit where the people were agitating to be paid as much as others were paid in other units. So it's quite tragic. And so for me, I think that that is something that one must really examine. The process was fraught with irregularities. Yes, I think INEC got it wrong in certain circumstances, but one cannot run away from the fact that the people themselves have decided to embrace their captors. The people themselves decided to embrace the two political parties who could offer them money for their votes.
We're now being joined by Arise News analyst Dr. Constance Ikokwu. Thanks for being here with us. We just heard from the Labour Party candidate from that Edo State election talking about vote buying, which has been a significant issue from coming out of this election. And he went on one angle to say, yes, you have people who are buying these votes. However, he also apportioned blames to Nigerian citizens or people from Edo State who are willing to sell their votes. What do you make of this? And what do you make of the mindset of Nigerians when it comes to elections?
Well, he seemed quite emotional in that interview, and he also looked a bit shocked. And the question would be, Mr. Olumide Akpata, although he is new in politics, but I don't think he needs to be shocked because this has been happening for quite some time. So maybe the level recently or last weekend in Edo was so staggering that he was amidst what was actually going on. But there are several elements that played out in Edo State before and during the election. I think all these have to be considered in this post-election review. So the first is that we do have the socioeconomic conditions which are crippling that made voters a toast to politicians, and that made that inducement easy, which is what he was speaking to. Not all voters, he also said that, some voters. There was also the Governor Obaseki political situation where there were so many enemies that he had made, and so there was that toxic politics locally that affected the elections. There was the royal palace angle with the Oba of Benin involved there. There was the logistics problems by INEC. In some cases, they were able to rectify that. There was the interest by the federal government and the ruling APC in the state. There were several other things in that maze that culminated in what we have as an election. Mr. Olumide Akpata and the Labour Party have not said that they will go to court. They came a distant third, garnering about 22,000 votes only in the entire election. It does not seem that they will have a very strong case in court, and that's why he partly said that they will be working to make sure that Labour has a future in that state. On the PDP side, on the other hand, it might have a stronger case. At the same time, the PDP has internal problems itself. Some people say this was a big loss for them, and they had contributed to that loss. And when you look at the acting chairman, Alhaji Omar Damagu, at that press conference talking about democracy being under threat in Nigeria, you have to look at the man talking or the man speaking. He is an acting chairman. They have refused to conduct a national convention. He lacks credibility. Everyone has been telling him he needs to step aside, and he's still on that seat. So when you lack internal discipline within your party, when you lack internal democracy within your party, you contribute to the lack of democracy in the entire country, and this is what is happening in different parties. So most times these politicians are just speaking and talking. In actual fact, they do not understand what democracy means, are not interested in having a real and genuine democracy. That's what we say.
Damago won't like you for this at all, but you're practically, I mean, you couldn't have captured or encapsulated it better, you know. If you say what you do and do what you say, that's what it should be. Let me still follow up on the question of the inducements. A voter in Edo State described the election as peaceful because money was shared massively by parties, that even his own party, the Labour Party, the people, had to switch camps on the line where he was standing to vote for other parties. I mean, he particularly called the APC, you know, and because of money. You know, the question is, this peace he's talking about that is being touted in Edo State, is it a piece of the graveyard? What should Nigeria do about this money inducement in politics?
Well, to credit the peace in the exercise to money, I think that might be wrong. The police force, the security forces did a pretty decent job of securing the state in order for voters to go out there to cast their votes, although the voter turnout was very low, and that's another question, that's another conversation that can be had. The security forces did their job. Yes, money played a big role, as everyone has said, whether it's the Labour Party and the PDP, but you also have to put it in context of the socioeconomic conditions in the country. We have been talking about the high cost of living for so many months now, for about a year, and that situation has not improved. So it might make it easy for the politicians to induce the voters. Having said that, there's also the fact that voters have to understand that whatever they do will impact whoever is in government. You might sell your votes in order to take care of short-term needs. In the long term, when the politicians come into office, they have the floor for 4 years. So if you do not vote the right person in office, then that becomes a problem. Also, the quality of the politicians is another point in case. When you look at the candidates that were presented to the people of Edo State, are they the best candidates that the people of Edo could present? They pride themselves as one of the most sophisticated states in Edo. I'm not the one that said that. Edo people said that. They are one of the most sophisticated, they are educated and all of that. Look at the person that is their governor today. Monday Okwewolo from the All Progressives Congress is the governor of the state. He has major failures, but at the end of the day, he is going to be governing the state. So there is a lot of a conversation that needs to be had concerning the democracy that we practice, concerning the level of understanding of people. When you look at the majority of the country, it seems that a lot of people are functional illiterate, and this is the truth. A lot may not understand the meaning of democracy and what their votes means for them. So I think that a lot of work needs to be done in the long term to make the connection between the votes that you cast and how that will impact your life in the next 4 years, if not 8 years.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Ikokwu.